I live alone in a sleek downtown apartment, a modern sanctuary in a city that prides itself on glass and steel. But lately it has felt less like a refuge and more like a trap. At first it was just a subtle unease, a persistent irregular tapping behind the walls, a faint scratching that echoed through the silence of my nights. I'd convinced myself it was nothing more than the building settling or the stray movements of a rat. But as the days turned into restless nights, the sounds grew into something deliberate, something almost malevolent. It began on an overcast evening when I was alone with my thoughts and the muted hum of the city outside. I heard it, a series of knocks that didn't match any normal pattern. I pressed my ear against the cool wall and could almost make out the sound of shifting footsteps, as if someone was pacing just out of sight. My heart pounded as I told myself it was only my imagination running wild. Yet even as I tried to dismiss it, the noises persisted and even intensified, dragging me into a nightmare I could no longer ignore. One night, after a particularly unnerving barrage of taps and scraping sounds that sent shivers down my spine, I decided I had to act. Armed with nothing more than a heavy wrench and a burning need for answers, I crept through my dimly lit apartment toward the source of the disturbance, a loose panel in the living room wall that always seemed to resonate with those uncanny sounds. The closer I got, the stronger the smell became, a faint, acrid metallic tang that mingled with the scent of damp concrete, as though the wall itself was oozing secrets. With shaking hands, I pried open the loose panel. Behind it lay a narrow cavity filled with darkness thicker than I'd ever seen. Fumbling for my phone, I switched on the flashlight and cast a weak beam into the void. My eyes widened as they caught sight of something moving, a pair of eyes glistening with a wild, unhinged light. And then he emerged, a gaunt, twisted figure with dishevelled hair and torn clothing, his skin pale and marked with scars that told tales of long years spent in the shadows. For a moment, time slowed to a crawl as our eyes locked, his filled with a feral intensity, mine brimming with terror and disbelief. Without warning, the man lunged. A guttural snarl tore from his throat, a sound that reverberated in the tiny space behind the wall. In a desperate act of self-preservation, I swung the wrench. The impact was bone-crushing, a sickening, echoing thud that sent shockwaves through my body. He staggered back against the wall, his wild eyes flickering as if momentarily stunned by the blow. For an instant, I believed I had silenced the terror that had haunted my nights. Breathless and trembling, I stood frozen, staring into the darkness where he had been. The silence that followed was oppressive, heavy with the weight of the unknown. I fumbled for my phone to dial 911, but before I could even press a button, a low, raspy murmur emerged from the gap, a sound that wasn't his dying breath, but something else entirely. I turned slowly, heart in my throat, and in the dim light of the hallway I saw it, a dark, shifting silhouette where his body should have been. The figure moved with a sinister grace, as though the very essence of that creature had seeped into the wall itself. I stepped back, mind reeling with terror and confusion. Had I truly unalived the deranged intruder, or had I merely disturbed something far more insidious? My thoughts raced. What was this thing? A deranged man? Or perhaps a creature born of some unimaginable urban decay? A parasite thriving on the forgotten corners of a modern world? The realization hit me with the force of a freight train. I might have been dealing with something that defied any rational explanation. I don't know what will happen next. Every night the sounds resume. The scratching, the knocks, the low murmur from the gap. And I'm left questioning whether the creature is gone or merely lying in wait for the next opportunity to reclaim its dominion. I live in constant vigilance, wondering if the next knock at the wall will be the prelude to my undoing. If you've dared to journey with me into this unsettling slice of urban horror, please like and subscribe to The Outer Dimension. Stay vigilant, because in a world where even your walls can hide a predator, the true terror is never truly vanquished.